you have learned quite a few Romance languages, and I was watching in one of your videos that you mentioned that even though that you don't study, let's say, I don't know, regularly, let's say Portuguese, that by your knowledge or studying of other Romance languages, it has even helped you with, let's say, Portuguese or some other languages. Can you think of ways that that happened? Because I thought that was interesting. You mentioned about improving your foreign languages by just simply having interaction or studying other languages in that language family. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. That's something I noticed, that I actually spend zero amount of time at practicing Portuguese, and sometimes I use Spanish. Because it's more popular. I have friends there, and I noticed that I don't forget actually Portuguese, and I always can understand it. I always can speak a little bit in it, and that's because of my usage of Spanish. Because I just don't use and the way I learned Portuguese is also very interesting, because I did two things. The first thing, I listened to podcast every day for 30 minutes, just walking to my bus station, the metro station, which was a little longer, and I could use this time to listen to Portuguese. And the second thing was speaking to with my Brazilian friends. And the fun thing was that I started speaking in Spanish with them, and they responded me in Portuguese. And this
Oh,
way, little by little, I started picking up Portuguese, picking up word by word, grammar by
nice.
grammar construction by another one. And turned out after two months, I could speak somehow Portuguese, and after half a year, I was basically almost the same level like in my Spanish.
What? Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
two
What an
things.
interesting method. Oh.
Two things. Just listening to it every day for 30 minutes, and that was actually a podcast for native speakers, for Brazilians. But it had transcript. So the podcast is called Café Brasil. If someone was interested, and speaking, that's it. No grammar at all. Haven't opened a grammar book in Portuguese at all. Nothing on the internet. Haven't read anything. Just listening and speaking. And this has some disadvantages, because I'm not very confident when I speak about when I have to use they, and I actually not sure how to conjugate verbs in this
Hmm.
form. But it's a good experience, because I learned only the things I need. Nothing, and something that I learned by this experience, that you actually don't have to learn everything. When you go to school, they teach you all the grammar the language have, and you don't need it. Basically, if you want to speak, you just need to have a good understanding. This is actually the second observation I have, is that speaking is not a very useful thing right now for me, because most of the time, 90% of the time, I listen to something.
Hmm.
Of course, every now and then I have to speak, as like right now, in English, and I'm not very confident, but at least when it comes to understanding, I can understand pretty much everything in English. And these interviews, these opportunities to speak, they're not very often. So I got to the conclusion that for me, the most important thing is to understand, to have a good understanding of a language. And it's something I work a lot, spend a lot of time. And as speaking is something, for now, maybe when I move to New York or something, I will need to you know to not to be ashamed when speaking English. I can work on it. I can speak every day as I do with Polish right now, an hour or longer, and within a couple of months you can activate the language pretty fast, I guess.
Right.
So that's it. But I forgot about what I talked about the first place.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You were telling me
Yeah,
how
we talked
you
about
learned
Portuguese.
Portuguese, right? Oh,
Yeah, right, right, right.
that's super interesting. Like, I've talked to some language learners on here, and like they've had some ways and to learn languages, and I go, oh, that's cool. That's also a cool way. It reminds me of a couple years ago. I took my buddy. My buddy came to visit me here in Mexico, and we went to the old Aztec pyramids, and we climbed these Aztec pyramids, and I remember that there were two groups, like there were two guys and another two guys, and one group was speaking Spanish to the other group, and the group was speaking it was Portuguese. Because I'm like, oh, wait, that's not Spanish. And they were communicating Spanish, Portuguese, two Mexicans, two Brazilians, and they were just having a wonderful time. And it was just so interesting to observe what was happening, because two different groups of people, two different languages, but they were just having a good time. And it's like you were speaking Spanish, and somehow that was turned into Portuguese, and then
It works. It works. And you reminded me about the other thing that I practice recently is that it's also about the efficiency and about being lazy. I have some friends that speak Russian, and we're communicating in our own languages.
oh
So
yeah, oh yeah.
I'm speaking or writing. Basically, it's writing or sound messages, voice messages, and yeah, I just doesn't bother myself to remember how is it called in Italian and stuff, and just say it in Russian, and they say in their language, and it works fine. I'm excited about this way of communicating, because yeah, basically it's easier for us as language learners to understand, of course, than to speak. And the communication in this way is more precise, it's more it's easier and pretty exact, pretty precise, and it's just the same, almost the same as speaking to a native, somebody who speaks your native language uh, as a native. And so it's super efficient. It's not the best way to practice languages, but it's it's another motivation. I'm not really working on
Mm-hmm.
on output that much, because it's I just maybe past this period when I wanted to show off my speaking abilities. Right now I don't care. Just for me it's
Right.
important to understand, because that's something I do all the time. I'm a listener. All the time I listen to something, get some knowledge, as how's this guy is called, um, Lopez. He's have you heard about him? The guy with Lamborghinis who talks about the importance of knowledge.
Like, his name's
Ty Lopez.
Lopez.
Yeah, right.
Rings a
So
bell.
for me, knowledge is very important, and I listen to a lot of stuff and watch YouTube. And now, as I live in Russia, I don't need to speak. When I get to, I want to, because I want to live in different countries. I want to live in Poland for some time, for in Italy, in USA, and like in many countries for
Right.
some months. And at that point, I'm gonna focus on the speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my approach right now.
We were talking right before the interview, and you said something that I thought was really interesting. You said that, I was talking to you about how, my Spanish opportunities have gone down in
Mhm.
the recent time. And you said you don't worry about losing the level in your language. I thought that was really interesting. It kind of
Mhm.
goes along with what we were saying, that you,
Yeah, Yeah, exactly.